Pero hoy estaba pensando en una gran verdad bíblica, pero es para los cristianos nada más. I was thinking about a beautiful truth in the Bible, but this one only applies to Christians. O sea, hay principios y verdades en la Biblia que también son para los inconversos, para los que no conocen a Cristo. There are some things in the Bible that are also for unbelievers. Por ejemplo, la ley de cosechar y sembrar. Se aplica a todos, like the law of sowing and reaping. That applies to everybody, Christians and non-Christians. Pero en este caso vamos a ver algo que solo pertenece a cristianos. But now we're going to look at something that only belongs to Christians, only belongs to believers in Jesus. Y es un pasaje muy conocido. Si tú has sido un cristiano por un tiempo, es un pasaje bien conocido. If you've been a Christian for a while, this is a passage that's very familiar to you. Y se encuentra en el libro de Isaías, and we find it in the book of Isaiah, and we're going to look at it here. And it's Isaiah chapter 40. It's a very common verse if you followed the Lord for any length of time. It's in Isaiah chapter 40, starting at verse 30, and it says, "Even youths grow tired and weary, and young men stumble and fall. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint." Those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. Pues, ¿qué dice el profeta Isaías aquí? En Isaías, el capítulo 40, y comenzando con el versículo 30, dice la palabra de Dios: los muchachos se fatigan y se cansan, los jóvenes flaquean y caen, pero los que esperan en Jehová tendrán nuevas fuerzas, levantarán alas como las águilas, correrán y no se cansarán, caminarán y no se fatigarán. Los que esperan a Jehová tendrán nuevas fuerzas, levantarán alas como las águilas. Alas como las águilas. Pues esto está hablando de cristianos, de los cristianos, esperando en Jehová, creyendo en Jehová. Y habla de águilas. This is talking about Christians, and it's talking about hoping in the Lord, and it talks about eagles. Ahora, yo sé que soy mal águila, pero los águilas no hacen así para volar con sus alas. Las águilas suben y suben y suben y suben arriba de la tormenta, y ya arriba, con sus alas, vuelan sobre el viento. Vuelan sobre el viento. I'm a bad eagle, right? I'm more of an ostrich than an eagle. But eagles don't flap their wings like this. They lock their wings, and they soar higher and higher and higher and higher above the storm. And then when they're above the storm, they lock their wings, and they ride the wind. They ride the wind. Cuando Isaías habla de esperando en el Señor, en Jehová, y que podemos recibir fuerzas nuevas, y podemos volar como águilas, tenemos que subir arriba de la tormenta, sacar nuestras alas y volar sobre el viento de Dios. O sea, dejar que el viento de Dios, el soplo de Dios, nos lleva más arriba de la tormenta. What Isaiah is saying here is he's making an analogy between eagles who lock their wings and they ride the wind. And he's saying that those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength, and they will ride the wind with their wings. They will ride the breath of God. So you and me, we rise above the storm, and we ride the breath of God. This only applies to Christians. Non-Christians don't know what it's like to let the breath of God carry them along like eagles. Esto no es para los inconversos, es para los cristianos. Los que no conocen a Cristo no tienen este privilegio de volar sobre la tormenta, sobre el viento de Dios. Pero tú y yo, en medio de nuestra tormenta, en medio de una crisis, podemos volar sobre el soplo de Dios, el viento de Dios. But you and me can lock our wings in the middle of a crisis, and we can ride the breath of God, the wind of God. When you say, this is too stressful, I can't take it anymore, It's time to lock your wings and wait on the Lord. Hope in the Lord. And that will give you fresh strength, and you'll just ride above the storm like an eagle, flying and locking his wings and riding the wind. Cuando dices, ya no puedo más, estoy tan estresado con esta crisis, ya no sé qué hacer, no puedo en mis propias fuerzas. No, no puedes. Pero si tú eres cristiano, tú eres un candidato para volar sobre la tormenta, sobre el viento de Dios, el soplo de Dios. If you're a Christian, you are a candidate to lock your wings and ride the wind of God. Man, I've felt this so many times in my life where I've been out of gas, completely and totally out of gas. And I've told the Lord, Lord, I just can't anymore. I need you to carry me. And he's given me supernatural strength to just ride his wind and be carried along by the Holy Spirit. And it's awesome. I'll give you one example of what this happened to me. And you've got your stories too, I'm sure. But I remember when I lived in California, in my adopted hometown of Poway, about once every few months I'd go down to preach at a church in Tijuana with Pastor Chuy. And he didn't have a cell phone. And so I was scheduled to go down there one Saturday night, and I had a toothache, and it was driving me crazy. It was one of those toothaches that just gets up into your brain, and it hurt. And I'm laying in bed, and I couldn't get a dentist appointment. And so I said, man, I got to cancel with Pastor Chuy. I got to cancel. But I couldn't get him. I could not get a hold of him. I called and called. Tengo una historia de esto en mi vida, pero también a lo mejor ustedes tienen sus propias historias. Pero una historia mía es que cuando vivía en California hace muchos años, cada par de meses yo fui a predicar en una iglesia chiquita en Tijuana con Pastor Chuy. Y él no tenía celular. Entonces yo estaba programado para predicar un sábado de noche y se me vino un dolor en una muela, y era un dolor penetrante que llegaba hasta el cerebro y casi no podía pensar en otra cosa. Y trataba de llamar al hermano para cancelar mi visita y no pude. Entonces dije, pues Dios mío, pues de todos modos voy. Y fui. Y dije, Dios, me tienes que ayudar porque yo no tengo nada de fuerzas. And I decided I got to suck it up and just go. I can't cancel. So with my toothache and everything, I drove down the 40 minutes down to Tijuana. And I arrived at the church, and I walked in, and I went up, and they were already started. I went up on the platform and sat on a chair. Y llegué tarde, ya habían comenzado en la iglesia, y subí a la plataforma y me senté en una silla ahí. Y la muela, and it was just hurting, and the tooth was hurting, and the tooth was hurting. Y luego me presentaron, y yo fui al púlpito, y por mala suerte tenían un anuncio ahí, un anuncio de un evento que iban a tener, y como todos ellos eran chaparritos, no había problema con el anuncio, pero yo tenía que agachar para ver a los hermanos. They had this big banner that was up there announcing something, and because they're all short, the banner didn't bother them, but when I got up to preach in the pulpit, I had to bend down to see everybody. So I got my toothache, and I'm bending down to look at them, and I'm irritated, and I'm preaching. Entonces tengo ese dolor en mi muela y tengo que agacharme para poder ver a los hermanos, y luego con el dolor y la predicación y mi mal español, and then I thought my Spanish was just terrible. I couldn't concentrate, and the tooth and the banner, and dije, Dios, ayúdame. And I said, God, you got to help me. Y prediqué, y según yo prediqué mal. And I preached, but I thought it was terrible. I thought it sucked, right? So I finished. And then I said, now if anybody wants to come up and pray, I guess we'll spend some time praying. Les dije, si alguien quiere pasar a orar, pues sí, pues vamos a abrir ese lugar enfrente. Y todos pasaron. Y comenzaron a orar todos. And everybody came forward. They were crying, they were weeping, they were praying, llorando, orando, buscando a Dios. Y dije, pues, ¿qué es eso? Prediqué mal, con una muela herida, agachado, y como quiera el Espíritu de Dios llegó. ¿Por qué? Porque estaba volando sobre el soplo, el viento de Dios. And all these people came forward and were blessed. And I said, why? I've got a toothache. I preached terrible. My Spanish was awful. I was bent down. And it didn't matter because I was being carried along by the breath of God. So what does that mean? You're sitting there at home looking at your cell phone right now. You can't do it. This is just too much. This has gone on too long. How can I make it? Listen. Hope in God. Lock your wings. Ride the breath of God. Say, Jesus, carry me. Tú estás ahí viendo tu celular y tú dices, Jim, ya no puedo más. Ese estrés es demasiado. No puedo. No veo ningún fin. Mira, tú eres un candidato para volar sobre el viento de Dios, el soplo de Dios. Espera en Jehová. Espera en Jehová. Hope in the Lord. Hope in the Lord. Lock your wings and ride the breath of God. That's what I encourage you to do today. Es mi mensaje para ti en esta tarde. Bueno, ya mi café se está enfriando. There's nothing like a Sunday afternoon with Dunkin' Donuts, baby. Well, I'm so glad you guys came in. As always, I'm going to pop this up on YouTube, and you can share this with your friends that are on Facebook. If you can, please remember to give an offering to the Iglesia Biblica. I'm not going to put the slide up, but it's iglesiabiblica.us, and you can punch the online giving app there and give. No voy a poner la transparencia una vez más, pero si quieren dar a la Iglesia Bíblica por internet, hay que buscar a iglesiabiblica.us y ahí aplanar el botón ahí que dice online giving, dar a través del internet, y ahí pueden dar a la iglesia. Dios les bendiga, y siempre es un privilegio tomar un cafecito con ustedes todos los días. God bless you. What a privilege it is to still be able to drink coffee, right? They can't take coffee away from us. So we'll see you again tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Nos vemos mañana a las 2 de la tarde.